Welcome to a new daily top Askreddit video. Today's topic:
Redditor who killed a person for self-defense. How is your life afterwards? A few years ago, 5 guys broke into my house. I was upstairs gaming and my wife was downstairs. I never heard them kick the door in, just the blood-curdling scream from my wife. I only own one firearm, which is a shotgun that's kept under my bed. After the scream, I opened the office door and heard them screaming at her. I ran to the room and grabbed the shotgun. They heard the running and 2 came running up the stairs. I didn't realize they had heard me and were coming up the stairs, so after grabbing the gun I was headed downstairs, but as I rounded the bedroom corner I came face to face with one of the intruders. I don't know if he was armed or not, and at this point, because I didn't expect to encounter them upstairs, my shotgun was not raised. I squeezed the trigger and it shot him in the upper leg area. He fell to the ground and the dude behind him started charging me. Again, unsure if this guy was unarmed, but I raised the gun and shot him in the chest. Hearing the commotion, the other 3 ran. I ran downstairs to check on my wife and never rendered aid to the guy who was shot in the leg, and he bled to death before EMS got there. I have severe PTSD, and even on heavy meds I have trouble sleeping at night. Everyone around me says I have changed, and I'm pretty sure I'm headed toward divorce. Seen psychiatrists and therapists with no success. Edit: I'm by no means a badass. I don't even know how I had the frame of mind to reshuck the gun after the first shot when I raised it. I was shaking like a leaf and did so for several hours afterwards. Oof, this is brutal, man. Hope it gets better for you. I'm in the middle of a book called The Body Keeps the Score, which might help you understand what your brain is going through. It's been an interesting read. Regardless, it sucks that you were put in that situation. This book is really good for those with PTSD or CPTSD to help gain some understanding. That book is very hard to read when you have PTSD. To this day I haven't finished it. However, it's very educational. Sometimes when I have an episode 1 remember what I read and understand it's a normal physical response. So by all means read it, but take it a page at a time and know it's okay to take it slow. I was working in a bar in 2014 when 5 men jumped over the counter and started beating me and another member of staff in an attempt to get away with the registers. 4 ran away empty-handed while another laid motionless on the ground. It was only during my interview at the police station that I found out I had shoved one of the attackers during the scuffle and didn't realize he'd hit his head on the counter on the way down. He passed away 13 hours later due to a brain bleed at just 19 years old. Sometimes I think about his family, sometimes I have nightmares of seeing him again, but mostly my life goes on as normal. There's some overnight cashier you'll never meet, who you've saved from meeting this guy at 20, 21, 22. You may have saved a life. This needs to be upvoted a lot. Killing someone, even accidentally, is a terrible burden on the psyche, and it should be, but the decent people you saved in the process are a thick silver lining. He killed himself. He put himself in the position. He hit his head. He died. All you did was survive. Yeah, but survivor's guilt is a huge thing to try to get over. I know, because I've been through it. Didn't necessarily kill them, but they're in a vegetative state now. I was attacked in the town of East Street. Louis, IL. A guy sucker punched me and tried to take my truck. We fought to the ground and I got on top and beat him, then put him in a front chokehold till he stopped moving because I knew he had a gun tucked away in his front waistband. I don't feel bad about it because he harmed me first and I was unarmed while he was. The blood bothered me, but I was in fear for my life and wasn't able to run away. He woke up that morning and decided to steal your truck. You didn't do anything wrong. Play with fire and all that. That old math equation further proving its reliability. Equation, fucked around equals found out. I never killed the man. However, when I was getting jumped I grabbed the guy's balls so hard everyone stopped fighting me and he screamed bloody murder. So I may have killed his genetic line. I'm cool with it. Mass murderer. Without conscience. Last year a guy tried to break into my home while I was making lunch. I keep a rifle in my closet, so I loaded it and shot him when he broke the glass on the door. My anxiety got a lot worse as a result of it, honestly. Got a better door without windows. Installed contact sensors on all entry points. I put a motion detector and camera outside. None of it really helps. I still have to get up and check every time I hear something outside. I had someone try to break into my house in the middle of the night once, and I screamed in the most deep and angry voice I could muster up and he ran away. I couldn't go to bed for a long time after that and eventually started drinking just to fall asleep. It was years before it went away. This happened to me too. 2 people broke into my house while I was on maternity leave. I was home alone with the baby. I just hollered as loud as I could and they ran away. For some reason, it didn't affect me as deeply as it did you. I think it was because a neighbor, who didn't know I was home, called the police when he saw them snooping around. The police were there practically before the break-in was over and caught one of them immediately. The other got arrested a few days later. They were kids, 17 and 18 years old. Honestly, I think they were just looking for an empty warm house to smoke weed in. They both had it on them. I think I was more hurt by the police officer who tore into me afterwards, saying I should have just left the house. Sorry mom, I was half asleep with a baby hanging off my boob, give me a whole break. Had a guy the first served with tell me he folded a guy on his front porch with a 12 gauge to the stomach when he was 12 cause the dude was trying to break in. When I talked to him about it, he said that he watched the guy roll around and scream until he finally died, and the 12-year-old had to be in therapy damn near until he enlisted. He said for the longest time nobody could convince him that he was the good guy, but when I asked him how he felt about it now, he said, fuck that bitch. Glad he felt it. Quote, edit, good lord, I've never gotten this many upvotes. Thank you all so much. Reminds me of a shooting I heard about the other day. One guy shot and killed another guy, I forget what it was over, and in court he was asked if he killed the man. The guy produced one of the coldest lines I've heard, no, your honor, I shot him, but him dying's between him and God. Robert L. Burnside was acquitted, too. The judge liked him. There was a video a couple of weeks ago about a man killing his cellmate, and he said it wasn't his place to judge the guy, that was God's role. I just set up the appointment. Quote, not me but a kid who transferred to my school at the time. His whole family picked up and left their home country and moved to my hometown because this 15-year-old kid, large for a 15-year-old, came home to find his parents tied up while being robbed. He stabbed both of the intruders to death. I hope they buy him ice cream every Friday. He won the Best Kid of the Year award for sure, first place medal. Not me but a good friend of mine killed somebody during home invasion, and although he never felt a regret, the sight of bloody murder fucked with him for a while. His house got robbed 2 years ago while he and his pregnant wife was asleep. Intruders were armed, and as soon as he heard them enter their house, he got up and tried dialing 911. The service was weak, so he knew he had to act fast to protect the unborn baby. Farm boy with a double-barrel shotgun as home defense is not something you'd want to mess with. He shot one of the intruders who made his way to their bedroom. According to him, the guy was holding his intestines from falling apart. It was an almost point-blank shot. He still is a little traumatized from that scene. The rest of those intruders hauled when they heard a loud bang and were later found and charged. No charges were brought up against my friend. Edit, typo. Edit 2, some people are actually believing in the fact that he prioritized the baby only because he didn't give a shit about his wife's well-being. I don't think I have to explain how absurd that theory is after everything I've told you in the original post. He murdered someone in the most gruesome way for his family. Some of you should receive texts and process words with your brain. Not your ass. Damn, that's intense. I have a question though. Did your friend get hearing damage from that? Yes, that, and he didn't touch a single firearm for at least a year. Till keeps the double barrel. My situation is sort of weird. I don't know if I killed the person or not, it's a 50-50. Struck his head with an iron bar more than once when I got the chance and ran away. I'm not even in that country now. My life remained the same. Nobody knows except 1 or 2 online friends. I just kept wondering if I killed someone or not. It used to eat me up. But now it doesn't anymore. And that bothers me. I had the same experience. Slumped a mugger with a steel baton and left him in between parked cars. Ran back to my apartment and panicked for a few weeks. Now I don't care at all. Schrodinger's killer. There are so many instances where people are mugged and killed. If it happens the other way around, then you've just defended yourself against someone who would have cared a whole lot less if he killed you. You might even be saving someone's life in the future. I didn't, but my dad killed a home invader in our living room. I remember him being slightly bothered about it until the father of the guy he killed told him he would have done the same to protect his family. It was really never talked about again. We did sell that house about 2 months later, though. Honestly, big W to the father of the invader for being understanding about it. Even if it does pain him to lose his kid. I still see him sometimes in the corner of my eye with a gunshot wound in his neck. Sorry you have to live with that, but glad you're here. Not me, but when I was a kid, my friend's dad killed a guy who broke into their house at night. According to my friend, the guy was threatening to shoot his family, but his dad realized the gun was not real, and they got into a fight that ended when his dad pushed the guy down the stairs, resulting on a broken neck. I can say his dad was in a very dark and bad place for a few years after that. He used to be a very smiling and happy person, then he stopped greeting people in the streets, started to drink heavily, among other stuff. I can't say if it was due to the fact that he killed the guy, or if it was some sort of trauma, like realizing he was actually fighting for his and his family's lives. He's way better now, after a couple of years, and lots of therapy I assume, but he went back to being his old self again. Makes me think I need to be more careful walking up and down the stairs. My dad died falling down the stairs into the concrete floor of the basement. Like that documentary The Staircase, but less brutal. Still a bloody mess. A lot of bloody handprints in the basement where he was disoriented walking around, and handprints halfway up the steps where he apparently tried to climb up for help. It is sad to type this, but yes, please be careful. Never run up steps. Hold the railing always. Guy tried to kill me and some friends randomly with a SUV, mistaken identity. He got my friend with the SUV and he was in the hospital for a few months but lived. About 2 weeks later his friends found my apartment and at 3 a.m. came up my stairs. I had a Ring camera and wasn't asleep, so saw the motion detected alert and saw them. The front one had what looked like a gun, but he was in all black and it was pretty dark. When they got to my door I had a big window next to it, and when he smashed the window I pulled the trigger on a 16 gar with target load. I don't think he died, to be honest, and they never caught them, but the two of them ran down the stairs and ran out of my complex. There was barely any blood at my porch, but there was a lot further down the street towards the exit where it looks like they stopped running. It was from about 6 to 8 feet away through a glass window, so I really don't know how deadly birdshot is. Moved back to my home state shortly after. They caught the first guy who hit my friend with the SUV and he pleaded to 12.5 years in the middle of the trial after the state's case had rested. I was a prosecutor for years after that and I've never seen a case plea during trial, so that was very weird. I'm not an expert, but at that range a typical load wouldn't have much spread on it unless you've removed the choke from the gun. You probably got an indirect hit, which with birdshot he likely survived. It had a modified choke on it. Had just used it for sporting clays the day before. With how close it was I just don't know.